USCHO.com. This is the USCHO Spotlight, a weekly podcast from U.S. College Hockey Online at USCHO.com, featuring conversations with college hockey coaches and players and journalists who cover the sport.
Welcome to USCHO Spotlight for Tuesday, November 17th, 2020. I'm Ed Trefzger alongside Jim Connelly. We start Season 3, Episode 1 with one of our favorite guests.
And joining us now, the head coach of Michigan Wolverines, and that is Mel Pearson. Jumped out to a nice opening weekend sweep of Arizona State. And Mel, before we get into last weekend, we were just talking off the air. It's nice to be playing hockey. There's a nice normalization, I think, of probably watching guys on the ice, playing against guys in different uniforms, not hitting the same color all the time. What's it like to be back as a coach behind the bench after 8 long months?
Well, thanks, Jim, and good to be with you and Ed tonight. It was a great feeling. It was a strange feeling, to tell you the truth. First going down and no fans at Yost Ice Arena, no band, no children of Yost. It was very sterile, but once the puck dropped, all that went away. It just seemed as normal, I guess, as it can be. But, we're very fortunate to be able to play the game that we all love and enjoy here at Michigan. A lot went into this, and, I'd be remiss if I don't thank Kevin Warren and the Big Ten and Ward Manuel, our athletic director here at Michigan, and his administration for allowing us to play and get us up and running. And I guess the other person I really want to thank is Red Berenson, Coach Berenson. Worked closely with Kevin Warren and all the Big Ten schools to get us up and running. So it's been a long road to get to this point, and March seems like years ago to me, but it was to see the joy and the happiness and the environment on the bench and our guys play was really extraordinary. So again, very fortunate and very thankful we had the opportunity to play.
Well, when the pause happened last season, the end of last season, I should say, your Wolverines were playing good hockey and you were ready to head into some playoff hockey. And here we are 8 months later, a lot of different faces. And I'll get to that in the next question, but just go through last weekend, an 8-1 and 3-0 victory over Arizona State. What did you like about the way your team played both nights? Obviously getting a lot of offense right away. That was big in the first game, but showing that you can win 2 different types of games, a game where you got a big lead and a game that you had to really kind of hold on late.
Yeah, they were 2 different type games. And I think one of the biggest things I took out of the weekend for our team is we were ready to play both nights. We got after it right away. And, you're never sure as a coach where your team is, especially after a long layoff like that. We were very pleased as a staff, where our team is. So we found out where we are and sort of set the base for, the rest of the year going forward. But I think one of the other big things that really stuck out to me was the depth of our team. We've got, 14, 15 really good forwards, 7, 8 deep on defense. Our goaltending, led by Strauss-Mann and with Eric Portillo, a highly rated freshman, and a good third guy in Jack Levy. Just the depth, and then again, just the overall play of our team. We were so good in so many areas: power play, penalty kill, even strength, possession time, not giving up much as far as scoring chances against, creating a lot. The only thing I was disappointed in was how many penalties we took Friday night, and then our face-offs. Our face-offs need to be better as we go forward. But just against a good team too. Arizona State's made the NCAA tournament, or they would have last year, and they made it the year before. Good team. Johnny Walker, their talented forward, has 60 career goals. That was more than our whole team in career goals going into the game on Saturday. I think our team had 55 career college goals going into the game. Johnny Walker had 60. So there's a lot of questions, I think, where we're going to score. I knew we'd be good defensively, but I was really concerned about our offense. And, a lot of those questions were answered on the weekend.
I'm going to run down a quick list here, and I know everybody loves to talk about returning players, but I'm looking at your freshman class. Kent Johnson, a goal and 4 assists. Matty Beniers, 2 goals and an assist. Owen Powers, a goal and 2 assists. Thomas Bordeleau, a goal and an assist. Can keep going down the list. Get to Brendan Brisson, a highly thought of freshman, 2 assists on the weekend. Your freshman, right away, right off the bat, step in and have an enormous punch in your offense. Coaches love to see leaders lead, I know that, but when you have a freshman class that immediately can step in and show that they're maybe ready to play this game, how nice is that as a head coach?
No, it's great. It's great. I mean, and we needed that, like I just said, we didn't bring a lot of returning scoring, and we have some guys who think some upperclassmen that can make big steps this year, but there was room here. There was room and opportunity for our freshmen to come in and get significant playing time and make an impact, or try to make an impact. And boy, did they ever. And there wasn't anything fluky or about those points. They were all hard earned, and they played well, and just as impressive offensively as they played. I was really, really happy with how they played without the puck. In fact, Kent Johnson, he played well offensively, got some numbers, but he's got some things to work on. But defensively, I liked his game without the puck more than I did with it. So I think that's a big statement. We'll get our offense, but I wasn't sure, how those young guys defensively would play, but they were spot on. And they're going to be big contributors for our team, and they're going to help us win a lot of hockey games.
We're talking with Mel Pearson, head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. You had an extended preseason, like an extra 5 or 6 weeks. What did you do to keep things going, and how did you keep momentum going to prepare for the season when things were so uncertain?
Yeah, great question, Ed. I think that really helped us in a way, because those freshmen, we got to spend more time with them on practice, and with the also the rule and as far as not being able to go out and recruit our assistant coaches, we had some quality time with our team, and especially when you have 10 freshmen, I thought that was really a benefit to us on the end of the coaching part, and being with those guys and learning our systems and getting to work with them. But again, when you have so much time, we started practice August 31st, so we didn't play till November 14th. So a lot of practice, and you're right, we had to be very creative. A lot of days off in between, various drills, a lot of small games, competition. We had 2 really good scrimmages the week before. On Friday and Saturday, we brought out referees, lined them up, played 3 20-minute periods in one day, the next night 3 15-minute stop periods. I thought that was really good for our team. And I give our players credit, because they played hard. They played like there was something on the line in those scrimmages. So I thought we were well prepared for this series against Arizona State. I just wasn't sure, if we could execute and how things would come together, especially with so many new players.
Is it possible it has been a little bit easier adjustment for the freshmen who don't know what normal is compared to your upperclassmen?
Yeah, I was talking to Kent Johnson today, and I asked him, well, what did you think of the experience? And he said it was great. He said, we've never played in Yost in front of 6,000. So, it just seemed normal to us. We just thought, hey, this is how it's going to be. These are the games. So you're right. There wasn't that factor of expectations of, the big crowd, or, that needed to energize our team. They just went out and played. And I know Matty Beniers and Thomas Bordeleau, we were talking to today in the training room, and they were saying, wow, that was probably more fans we had last year playing in our game. So it seemed pretty good. So, but a lot of really positive responses. But that's how they take it. They don't know what, you're right, the normal is. They just, this is their first go around. They're just here to play, and they say, okay, this is what it's going to be. Hey, drop the puck. We're ready.
For me, watching on TV over the weekend, it was interesting because there was so much more of the sound of the ice and what was going on. It seemed a lot more immediate, but certainly having seen a packed Yost Ice Arena, it just didn't feel the same to me. But I'm sure we'll get back to normal at some point. But I wanted to ask you about precautions and what kind of things that you're dealing with on a daily or weekly basis? Not in excruciating detail, but kind of what sort of things have become different for you and the players and your staff?
Yeah, and it was different right from day one. When it first started, we weren't in our locker room together. I think we're in 5 different locker rooms, and that was hard. We could only go out in small groups. I think we were limited to less than 8 at the time. So for the first little while, it was weird because you want to get your team together and start bonding and go from there. And then we gradually, as things, restrictions were lessened, we got to go in our own locker room. We got to be a team. We got full ice practices. And so it evolved to the team we are. And, the testing and just who you have to hang out with now. And our team has been really good. I credit our leaders on our team, for what they've done as far as, being careful and, get on these campuses. And a lot of other students don't have the expectations that you do as far as players or, have a game or can affect other people and whatnot that are part of a team. So they've done a great job there. And, we get tested. I think the last 4 weeks we've been testing 6 times a week. And we get tested in the morning. So, but again, your players have to make sure they are abiding by all the restrictions, wearing the mask, social distancing, watch who they're hanging out with. I had a Zoom call with the parents this weekend, asking them to, if they would stay away from their sons, not have any physical contact with their sons all weekend, and knowing that they've made huge sacrifices, the players, and, in another 4 weeks, we'll be at the break and everybody go home for a while. So if come and enjoy the games, but, because of the safety factor and the health risk is, maybe, stay away from your parents. I don't know if they did that, but I think a lot of the parents were receptive to that idea and just being just enjoyed being able to come and watch your sons play.
Leading up to that break, you have a fairly compressed schedule with some pretty quick turnarounds in between. How do you plan for a schedule where you may only get 4 days from one game to the next?
Yeah, it's all new. And today we didn't know what to do. We played last night, 7 p.m., and we turned around and we went skated today for 15 minutes. I put a lot of trust in, our trainers and athletic personnel and rely on them, strength and conditioning coach. What is the best thing for being ready to play Thursday, Friday? Because you're right. And we jump on the bus Wednesday and head 7 hours to Madison. Normally we'd jump on that charter flight and it's 45 minutes. So everything's compressed from the games to the travel, put on that, and the rest and recovery is so important right now. So I guess the new wave people will tell you that, we should have skated today like we did, even though it was for 15 minutes, 20 minutes just to stay with it. And, so it's all new to me. 38 years in college hockey, I've never had this before. Maybe the odd week you might have a midweek game and it's a little compressed, but, I'm so, structured and used to having, having that whole week to, to plan and structure and put things into practice, where now is we're just trying to have the energy to be ready to play. And I think that extra time, that extra month and a half to get our systems in order and how we want to play really helps. So we don't have to do a lot of coaching on the systems now. It's just, work on a couple things, keep them fresh and be ready to go against Wisconsin on Thursday. But you're right. It's all new. It's all different. And you have to adapt. And I think that's the word I've heard a lot is, whichever team seems to adapt the best probably has the best chance to succeed in not only our league, but any league.
We'll have more with Mel Pearson in just a moment.
This is the USCHO Spotlight, a weekly podcast from US College Hockey Online.
We're talking with Michigan head coach Mel Pearson.
Mel, on a kind of more macro level, we look at what's going on across the country, and we've already seen 9 teams. We're recording on Monday night. As of Monday night, there's 9 teams that have already canceled their season. And I know you mentioned Kevin Warren and the great work that he and others did within the Big Ten and obviously your own department. But I'm not asking you to prognosticate, but how challenging do you feel it will be to get to a finish line this year? There's going to be so many potential hurdles along the way, something you've never seen in your year of coaching. How difficult will it be to get to that finish line, get to a conference championship, maybe get to an NCAA tournament if possible?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, we had a Big Ten head coaches, hockey coaches conference call this morning along with Red Berenson. And, that was part of it. We're all sharing ideas, all talking about what we're doing, how we're staying safe, what we need to do to continue to play and get from week to week. I think that's all of us right now are just focusing on week to week and just, trying to get through the week, do the right thing, save our games, be able to play and, have some, backup plan in case there is that weekend that somebody has to take off. And those are built in. So I think, I know the Big Ten's done a real nice job and it's been really good with these coaches and just, trying to forge ahead and have a plan in case we do have some setbacks and some adversity and we need to go another way. But you're right. We don't know. We don't know the challenges ahead of us. And again, that's why that word adapt and handle some adversity and forge forward will be so important. And a lot of it is out of our control. I know in the state of Michigan, like I was telling you earlier before we got on air, the governor just shut down, high school sports. Hockey was just ready to get going. Football was right in their playoffs. And, they've been shut down for 3 weeks here for the next 3 weeks. So you never know what's going to happen. But I think all you can do is, like I said, control what you control. Make sure you're doing everything you can to give yourself and your team a chance to play. And collectively, not only us here in Michigan, but whether it's Minnesota or Michigan State or Ohio State, we're all in this together. And we're only as strong as our partners, and we want to succeed. And I give credit to Arizona State. They're out here on a 22-day trip. They'll play, I think it's 8 games in those 22 days, and I give them a lot of credit. But they just felt that was the best thing for them as far as safety and health, and just to trying to create a bubble and stay together. So. Yeah, there's a lot of challenges ahead of us, and I think all we can do is continue to forge forward. And when we have a challenge that comes to us, we'll just have to deal with it and then go forward and move around that.
Well, it certainly does seem like the shorter term picture is the easier one and probably the better one to look at. Hey, Mel, before I let you go, obviously there were a couple of headlines. I think it started in some local papers and then moved all over Canada when you mentioned and talked about Owen Powers and possibly going to the Canadian World Junior Team development camp, their selection camp. Ed and I talked on our news podcast, our weekend review earlier about just how it does feel like there's a disconnect between Hockey Canada and the college hockey world. And here you've been put in a situation where you could potentially lose your defenseman for a really talented defenseman for a long time. Where does all that stand in kind of, how do you as a coach kind of embrace what this is? I know that you understand the national and, lifelong implications of a tournament like that, but you also have your own team that you've got to be very cognizant of the impact of losing a big player like Owen Powers for a long time.
Yeah, no question, Jim. And it was a hard decision, but there was a lot of talk back and forth. And, I personally know the people heading the World Junior Team for Team Canada. I've known them for a long time, really respect them and what they're doing and the success they've had. So, but yeah, like I said, there's a lot of conversations. And what it boiled down to is, for me, the academics. Owen Powers just in his really 2 months into his first semester here at the University of Michigan. And, he values his education as well as his parents. And, of course, I do too. And that was really when it got right down to it, a major stumbling block. He could not be gone if he made the team for 51 days. His academics would have taken a hit. And I will give Team Canada a ton of credit. I mean, they tried to do everything as far as accommodating, whether it's classes or exams or whatever it might be for Owen. But at the end of the day, it just didn't work. Their practice schedule Owen, even though we're online, all of our classes, you have to be, most of his classes, you had to be online. And at that time, the classes were offered. And it just really conflicted to, their practice schedule. And then again, I did say I would release Owen December 10th, the same day we're releasing the U.S. kids to play for the U.S. World Junior team. But Canada's in a different situation. Their players are not playing. The OHL and the Western Hockey League are shut down. So they had to have a camp. They had to get a camp up and running to get their players in a team-like atmosphere and get them on the ice. I just felt between the academic issues and then Owen playing 10 Big Ten games in that time, he's playing against great competition. And, I tried to tell him that, hey, he will be prepared. He will be prepared playing these 10 games, and he's been practicing since August 31st with us. And I hope that door's still open. We'll see what happens, but, they wanted him there November 17th. That was sort of the drop dead date for him to be added to the team. So it's unfortunate. I've coached Mike Camilleri, Mike Van Ryan, Mike Camilleri, Andrew Cogliano, Jason Botterill, 3-time gold medalist for Canada. We probably had more college players for the Canadians at the World Junior Tournament, as well as countless U.S. guys. So we've always supported those teams in the program, but it's a different year, and just because of the date, we are in school. And I can't speak for Alex Newhook at Boston College or Dylan Holloway. They're in their second year of school, so I think sometimes you have a little more leeway. They've got some credits built up in their GPA, where Owen is just trying to find his way through school right now, probably just trying to find a few of the buildings if he had to go to them. But at the moment, he's going to stay here. He's going to play the games. I made the decision that I would not release him. Owen was initially disappointed, like any, I think, player who is competitive would be, but after we made the decision, he understands it, and he was excited to put on the Michigan uniform this weekend and played a heck of a series.
I think sometimes, Mel, it's hard for the coach to make sure that the student part of student athlete comes first, but it sounds like you made a very informed decision there, and hopefully the window's maybe not closed for Owen. But listen, we appreciate your time. We always love it. I feel like it's usually the middle of the season we're having you on, but we've got you early. Hopefully we can get you again late in the season, because it's such an enjoyable time to talk to you. But we appreciate your time, and best of luck this weekend. Best of luck the rest of the way. I guess the big word that we'll all have to say is stay safe. That's the most important part of today's game of college hockey.
Yes, it is. And again, thanks for having me on, guys, anytime. And just on closing, I really feel for the teams that have had to shut down, and this won't last forever. And college hockey, as we know it, will get back and running again. And as we all, I'm sure, hope that happens sooner than later. So again, thank you for having me on, and stay safe also, guys.
That's Michigan head coach Mel Pearson. Wow, what a crazy season. If it wasn't enough with the COVID, also some of the complications and the drama that came up with freshman Owen Powers. But it seems like it's been handled very well. And I, for one, appreciate the candor with which Mel discussed it.
I agree with you, Ed. And, listen, as he mentioned, he's Canadian. He's, getting hammered by his hometown media, the Canadian media, TSN, Darren Dreger. None of them have been overly kind. They don't understand why a kid would stay in college when he has a chance to go play for the Canadian World Junior team. And then, up there, that's a religion. That's part of their annual rite of passage, is to get through World Juniors, hopefully win it. They're on home soil this year. I get that factor. But to pull a kid away from campus for that long, not just the games he misses, but as Mel Pearson really pointed out, the classes and the inability to maybe progress academically. And you have to think about the fact that you still have NCAA regulations around you. And if you don't complete your classes and you don't pull off a certain GPA as a freshman by the end of your freshman year, you miss a semester as a sophomore. And, Owen Powers is a very highly thought of player, but he might want to return for a sophomore year, and if you're ineligible, it's useless. So I for one really appreciate the coaches that put the student part of the student athlete first, and it does seem like Mel Pearson has taken that route. And as you said, this is a difficult enough year, just trying to figure out how you're going to play games every single weekend. How are you going to keep your team healthy day to day? How much testing? I mean, he mentioned 6 times a week that these players and staff are getting tested. You're going through all that, and then you have this controversy thrown over your head. It seems unnecessary to me. It seems, again, Hockey Canada being a little blind to what college hockey is and the academic part of it. But I respect Mel, the way he has handled this entire thing, and I think that says a lot about him as a human being, him as a leader, him as a head coach.
Well, he's going to have the privilege of coaching the Wolverines as they travel to take on the Wisconsin Badgers. The Badgers off to a great start against Notre Dame. Those games on Thursday and Friday. For Jim Connelly, I'm Ed Trefzger, and we'll catch you next time.
This has been the USCHO Spotlight, a production of U.S. College Hockey Online. Visit uscho.com/podcasts to listen or subscribe.